Alright, fellas, what's going on? My name is Denanu, aka the man with the most biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And with this video here, we're going to be talking about Iron Fist Season 2. I binged watched all of Season 2 in the past few hours here, and just wanted to give my thoughts on it. I'm not going to, spoil really, I guess, anything really. I'm just going to touch on maybe like 1 or 2 points. So for the most part, this is just going to be spoiler free. I was somebody who, just like I'm sure many of you, did not really love Season 1. I thought it was bad. Normally most of the Marvel Netflix stuff I think is okay. Some are be like, okay, well, I didn't really like it, but some I really love. Like I loved the first part of Luke Cage. I loved the first season of Jessica Jones all the way through. Second season of that I felt was kind of hit or miss with a lot of the points. But with Iron Fist, that was just bad all the way around. The fighting was bad. Acting was not so much when it came to the main character, but it's just he didn't have nothing to work with. So when I knew Season 2 was going to come out, right? Because, they announced them long before they come out. I remember he had the episode in Luke Cage Season 2, and I thought he was far better. I was like, okay, wow, I can see where they're going with this. He reminded me of Iron Fist from the comic books, always spitting the East Asian jargon, with the quotes and things like that. And my only real big thing, I was like, I have to see the fighting get better, because the main story and the fighting, that was my only really improvements I could give Iron Fist Season 1. Cut out some of the side characters and make the fighting better. Like, he has to be doing high flying kicks. This is one of Marvel's kung fu guys. You have to show him whooping ass. That's kind of like his thing. And when Season 2 came around, right, I seen the trailer for it, and I was like, okay, they actually trying to get him in a costume. Okay, I can see where they're going. And when it came out early this morning, I actually totally forgot it came out. I went on Netflix this morning and seen the thing for it. So I was like, oh shit, I forgot this was coming out this soon. I thought it was like next week. So I binge watched it, and I liked what I saw. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, it's the greatest thing in the world. No, far better than Season 1. Far better. Fighting was on point. I don't know if they got the same guy who was doing Daredevil's fight scenes, but they definitely got a fight choreographer this time. And they put in work. Fighting was damn good. That was the first thing that I thought of when I seen it. I was like, oh, okay, I could tell by like the first fight scene, he was messing somebody up in an armored car. Like, he knocked somebody against the wall and was like messing them all up and gave him a hug. I was like, damn. Okay, I can see the fighting's gotten better. Looks like he trained a little bit more since Season 1. And the story so much, I thought I didn't know where they were gonna take it, because Iron Fist, for those of you who don't know, he has a few storylines in his comic books, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the more interesting parts of his story, they're recent. Like, they're not from like way back in the day. They're from like stuff that's in the thousands, and you can't really do none of that yet. I'll touch on that more with the ending, but they're not there yet. They haven't really established him as Iron Fist, for the most part. So you can't really jump into a lot of the later interesting stuff without giving us a couple seasons of just him being Iron Fist and being comfortable in that position. And I guess that's what this whole season was about. This was them deconstructing his character and getting him to a point where it's like, okay, I understand that I'm not ready for this yet. So, I'm not ready to take on that responsibility. So he's getting himself prepared for that responsibility. They kind of ended it kind of weird, but I'll touch on that in a few minutes here. But for the most part, they cut out, they still have them in here. The brother and sister, I forget, the Meachums, I think that was their last name in Season 1. But a lot of the BS behind, oh, we're running this business, they cut all of that out. And I think I even mentioned that in a previous commentary. Like, anytime that happened in season 1, it killed any momentum the show may have gotten. So in this, instead of them dealing with, oh, we need to get you to run the business, and them trying to take the business from them, they cut all of that business side out. Save that stuff, for Stark Industries. So what they did was they introduced them, the brother and the sister, into kind of like a how would I call it, a dysfunctional family type thing, where because of certain things that happened in season 1, they kind of, well, the brother wants to be with the sister and things like that, making it sound extremely dirty when I say it like that, but he wants them to be a better brother and sister. And Danny wants to, break bread with him and things like that. They want to squash the whole thing, but because they've had so much bad blood since season 1, they all have their reasons as far as not wanting to, let that happen. Also, from season 1, Davos returns as the big bad guy in this one. They don't have a second part to the story. They're kind of doing this like how they did Luke Cage season 2, where it's only 10 episodes. Unlike the first season, they're not breaking it up story-wise between like the business and then the Hand. It's just focused all on Davos and him stealing the Iron Fist from Danny. Like, he finds this ritual that he can do, goes out and gets people to do it. He steals the Iron Fist from Danny, and Danny is trying to stop him along with Colleen Wing and Misty. They're trying to stop Davos from, I guess, starting a really big gang war. Because what he's doing is he's trying to, I can be a better Iron Fist, and his whole thing is, I'm gonna wipe out all the gangs, not realizing that that's just gonna create another power vacuum. And his plan was to like take their place. So they were trying to stop him from doing that, and also trying to get the Iron Fist back. I don't want to dive into more spoilers than that, but you have a couple ups and downs throughout the season. Towards the end, it really got better, because they were showing, at least with the other, Iron Fist season 1, and even in Defenders and stuff, they showed the Iron Fist here and there. Don't get me wrong, but it was like maybe once every 2 or 3 episodes you might see him do something. Whereas in this, it's more every couple of episodes, like pretty much almost every major fight scene, they show somebody doing something with the power. So, and even later on in the series, Davos was doing some really cool things with it that Danny even couldn't do. And I think even at the ending, some more stuff happened where somebody else was doing something that Danny never thought of doing. Like, Davos made both of his arms glow with the chi and everything, and Danny can only do one. So it kind of shows his inexperience with that. And where they end the series, or, well, I'm guessing they're going to keep it going. I mean, I'm hoping this brings in viewers, because I want to see where they're going to take it, because they kind of end on not necessarily a cliffhanger. They finish out the story, they stop Davos, yada yada yada, but they definitely ended on a part where you can continue the story. So I'm hoping that this makes at least somewhat money for Netflix. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. There's like nothing out really right now, Marvel Netflix wise. So I'm hoping that that it can do something, because I want to see where they're gonna go in season 3. Because I have my my hopes and my hints. They kind of ended it off in a weird position at the end. I mean, without getting into too much spoiler territory, I'm not going to really jump into too much. But at the end, Danny Rand doesn't have the power of the Iron Fist. I thought that was kind of weird, because since he's the as he said many times in season 1, I'm the immortal Iron Fist. But he doesn't get it at the end. He decides to give it to somebody else, and I think I know where they're going with that, because, like I said, this season was about him learning who he is as a person, and learning to take on that responsibility that he wasn't ready for, and even further understanding what that Iron Fist heritage is. Because they touch on a couple times in the season where he mentions that he only knows half the story of, I guess, the Iron Fist and things like that. He doesn't know the other half. And where I think they're going with this is, and this is just all speculation from here, is I think they're going to dive into some of the stories that was in the late thousands of the Iron Fist comic, when they tried to kind of like not redo his character, but make his character more interesting by giving him new stories. And I think they had a storyline, I forget what it was called, but I know it involved like the 7 heavenly cities. Because throughout all of Iron Fist's comic book run, Kunlun was the mystical city that only showed up once every 10 or 15 years or something like that, right? But it was in that comic book storyline when it was like, oh, you thought it was just one city. No, it's 7 of them. And each of them have their own Iron Fist type person, you know, if that makes sense. And they all get together and they have a Mortal Kombat, and Shao Kahn has to judge it and everything. And Danny learns about all of this because of the previous Iron Fist, who was this guy who came up in the comic books and things like that everybody thought was dead, but he wasn't. With this here, they kind of ended off on Danny leaving New York to go after, I guess, whoever. I'm trying really not to spoil anything, but somebody sends something to New York. That something allows Davos to take the Iron Fist. So at the end of the series, they're like, okay, we need to find out who sent this something, because I want to know what they know. Like, how did they get that thing? And so they go to China to go figure things out. And it does like a weird little story kind of segment, because I thought about it, because they're like, when they beat Davos, I'm like, okay, we still got, you know, like 45 minutes of episode left. Like, it didn't end with them defeating him. Like it had a good half-hour chunk of, or, you know, setting up season 2, like where the Asian chick left off, where Danny leaves off, where the Meachums and stuff leave off. And Danny goes to China with the Meachum brother, and they're investigating where this thing came from. And you see Danny pull out 2 guns, and they glow, and he shoots like energized chi bullets and destroys like somebody else's bullet who's trying to shoot him. And I think that was the outfit of the previous Iron Fist, because he was somebody who fought during, I think, World War I or World War II, and he had guns that he could channel his chi into and shoot the guns and things like that. So I don't know if it's just the guns that's doing that, or if it's Danny channeling what's left of the dragon's power into the bullets. Since that would kind of negate the Iron Fist if he gave it away but still had it, I'm assuming it's the guns that's doing that. And if that's the case, I'm hoping that leads into because where I think in season 3 they may bring in that somebody, or at least one of the older Iron Fists, or at least because it can't be the one Iron Fist in comic books. That person who used the guns was the Iron Fist before Danny Rand was. In this, I'm really trying not to dive into spoilers, but in this, I don't think it can be him, or if it was somebody else, and they're gonna go find the guy whose guns they were. I'm gonna assume that they find his guns, but not him, and then somehow Danny, it's not the guns that channel the energy, it's normally the person. So I would assume that they would bring in, I think they called it in comic books, what was it called? The Book of the Iron Fist? But it was like a book that contained all the techniques and things that each previous Iron Fist, knew, written down in the book. That was like passed along from person to person. So I would assume maybe Danny's gonna find that. That's how he learns how to channel his chi into the guns, things like that. Maybe that's how he learns to become a better Iron Fist, and then he's gonna get the Iron Fist back later in season 3 when they got to deal with whoever they bring into it. But outside of that, I mean, I'm hoping they do the whole 7 heavenly cities, not mystical cities, because that story arc was awesome. I'm really hoping they do that. That would introduce the show up to a lot of badass shit. And I don't think they're gonna do that, but that's where I want them to go at the end of the day. Outside of that, season was damn good. Brought in Typhoid Mary. Was not seeing that. Definitely was not seeing that. Because she's normally a Daredevil villain. You know, like I remember her fighting Daredevil and messing him up, and she was somebody who had split personalities and things like that. So loved her character and what they did with her. They kind of tweaked her a little bit because I remember in the comic book, I think her thing was blades. She had knives in this, or some kind of pseudo machetes type things. But she was like a tactical military person in the show. She was like a hired mercenary for whoever wanted to hire her. But all of her scenes were damn good. The guy who played Davos, I know I said it in a commentary when I talked about season 1. He nails that what do I want to call it? That evil presence that a bad guy will give off. He just has that look. Besides the look, I even said it before. His intensity when he's on camera is the truth, because like he'll just stand there and not say nothing, but he just gives off this evil ass persona whenever he's on the screen and everything. So I really enjoyed him. It was done damn good. They also touch on a little bit more of their backstory. I know in season 1 they showed you like a couple 5-second hints of their fight, getting the Iron Fist when Danny first got it. But in this, they dive into that whole backstory between him and Davos, and they fully explain what happened between them and why Davos thinks that the Iron Fist is his rather than Danny's. Really did like that. I would love to see like a whole season showing all of that stuff, but maybe they're, like I said, maybe they're saving that for season 3 when they jump into the whole. I'm hoping they jump into the Heavenly City thing, the Heavenly Cities thing, because then that would explain a lot of the backstory behind Kun Lun, all of that stuff behind the Iron Fist, where that came from, all of that good stuff. But yeah, really liking Iron Fist season 2. It has me pumped for season 3. I can't really put my finger on anything that I really hated about season 2. If anything, it was more of a personal storyline. I mean, they wasn't out saving the world. They wasn't saving New York. It was just, hey, look, these gangs are gonna kill people. We got to stop these gangs before the war breaks out into the neighborhood and things like that. So it was more of a personal thing between him and Davos, really, and him learning to understand his responsibility as the Iron Fist, because I know they're going to give it back to him, because I mean, what's the point in him being the main character of the show? So they're going to eventually give it back to him, and when they do, it's going to probably be the point where he gets to keep it, and he's going to be the Iron Fist that we know from the comic books, the one who could do all the fancy martial arts stuff. He's going to probably get some kind of an upgrade. Probably be able to do all the weird stuff that that being the Iron Fist can give you in the comic books. Like I know that he could heal wounds, channel his chi to do a bunch of other stuff rather than just punching things really hard. So I'm thinking maybe they'll probably give him some of that in season 3. Who knows when he gets it back. But my name is Denanu, aka the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.